appreciate the white for some reason. I don't get it. I like the dark one because it's warmer. The season of Christmas extends 12 days. When my kids were little, they loved it because we celebrated the 12 days of Christmas. Every day they got to open a gift. It was my way of dealing with the preparation of Christmas. I wanted to make it last. I often would leave the Christmas tree up through the full season of Christmas. Ours was a little dry this year, huh? So we had to take it down already. It's still dry. So it makes me happy that the church extends the season, unlike the secular world where there's already summer clothes in the stores. Have you noticed that? Right? St. Patty's Day stuff is out. Valentine's Day stuff is out. I mean, there's no lack of Easter stuff. There's no lack of urgency to get on with things and some new stuff for us to buy. So I'm glad that we get to celebrate one more Sunday. However, it's a little awkward because if we don't celebrate Epiphany today as well, then next Sunday we get to talk about Jesus' baptism and we skip right over the celebration that is the name for this season of the church year that's coming up. That begins, depending on how you count, the 12th day after Christmas or the 13th day after Christmas. It's the season of Epiphany. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about Epiphany, I think about aha moments, right? Little light bulbs perched above people with big ideas. And that helps to remind me of why the Magi are important. They probably didn't come to this little scene right here. The shepherds had all gone home, the angels had all gone up to heaven. They probably appeared on the scene maybe somewhere around when Jesus was 2 years old or so. At least that's how the story fits in chronologically. They are known as people from other lands, but their names subsequently were given to them, Midrash tradition. And so why are they important? How do they help us understand the message of Christmas? Well, some people would say that they are the reason we give gifts, although I think that God's gift to us in the baby is reason enough. But there are some reasons why the Magi are really important. They help us to understand, to get some aha moments going. They help us to understand what it is about Jesus that we ought to know. And they keep us real. They keep us real because they become the truth tellers of the story. There are no halos anymore when the Magi come around. So why are the Magi important? I have 4 reasons. There are probably more. The first one, I think, is because they were outsiders. You know how difficult it is to see what's going on in your own life, in the life of your family, in the life of your community? How difficult it is to critique. When we look in the mirror, we have blinders on. We see what we want to see. These folks, they came from the outside, and they pointed to something that the insiders couldn't see. A ruler in a manger, not in political power. A child who would one day be the Messiah. They are the first to name wrong to pay attention. But it occurs to me that one group of outsiders that we need to be listening to, that we've heard quite a bit from lately, are African Americans in our culture. African Americans still have a sense of government for the common good. And they still are outsiders. So how can they inform who we are and what we do? The second group of outsiders we might want to pay attention to are those spiritual but not religious types. 20% of the American population, and a number that's growing. They like Jesus, but not the church. Why is that? Maybe we want to listen to what they're saying. Maybe we want to seek to understand what their critique of the church is. First thing is the Magi were outsiders. Secondly, they paid attention to the signs of the times. Now, I don't know if you read your astrological sign, what's that called, your astrology in the paper, your zodiac sign, whatever it is. You know, sometimes I just glance at it and it's like, whoa, that's a little too close to home. But that was the science of the day. When a new star appeared, it predicted something. It was a sure sign that there was a big event on the horizon. A ruler's birth was always informed by a new sign in the sky. What are the signs of our times? What's the news out there? What are the things that we ought to be paying attention to that point the way to the future? I can think of a few. The news about the numbers of people that are being trafficked in this world. They're calling it the new slavery. It's a sign of the time. How about the way the planet is being destroyed? Pollution and extinction of species. Climate change. Are these signs of the times that we ought to be paying attention to? What about the growing inequity in economic status? Especially in our country, but especially throughout the world. And our denomination has determined that one of the signs of the times is the lack of literacy in this, our own country. Reading the signs of the times. The second thing, the Magi were good at. And then, they were not stuck. They were able to have an open mind. They could read the signs, and then they could move. They could get out of their comfort zone, follow the sign, follow the star, into a new, unknown future. They were able to move. They didn't say, well, it might be uncomfortable out there. We might have to give up something that makes us feel secure. Instead, they said, let's follow. This is an excellent adventure. Let's find out who this new ruler is. Let's see what there is to know. The text that Doug read for us this morning from Matthew says at the very end, they went home by another way. This isn't just a logistical statement. This is a spiritual statement. They came to worship. They gave their gifts, and something had changed. They no longer had to aid and abet the ruling power. They went home different results. So, we might be afraid of some things. As a community of faith, you recently lost a pastor. That raises some anxiety about the future. You might look at the downward trend in the numbers. And we know that the future of the American church is insecure. But to continue to do the same things over and over and over and expect that to change, that's just insane. We have to find another road. The Magi, they weren't stuck. And then, finally, they lived the truth. This is something our culture is looking for. A people who live the truth. The fact that the spiritual but not religious like Jesus but not the truth, Jesus but not the church, should tell us something about what they're looking for. They want to hear the truth spoken in all its ugliness. They want to know about the Herods who slaughter the innocents because they're afraid. They don't want that truth glossed over. Do you know that the story of ISIS has gone viral? Not because it slaughtered people, but because it's killed children. They want to know. They want to see the United States shed light on the dark, dirty secrets. They want to know that the church isn't afraid to say what is so, and to live by the truths that are uncovered, even if they cause fear and trembling in the hearts of those in political power. It's an interesting story about the Magi. So, prior to the increase in wealth of the Industrial Revolution, the main picture on Christmas cards in America was this one that we saw before today. Mary, Joseph, the shepherds, the animals, and the babies in the manger, often with European-looking faces and halos above their heads. And then there were a whole class of people that realized they didn't fit in that picture. They weren't outcast like the shepherds. They had never heard angels singing to them. They certainly weren't in favor of or approving of single moms, not to mention stepdads who stepped in. They were trying to figure out how they fit in. What? Along came these wealthy wise guys. Do you know that the most common religious picture on the cover of Christmas cards today is the Magi headed to Bethlehem with a star in the distance? Interesting, isn't it? Unfortunately, that image is not the whole truth. Yes, the Magi came. But within a few years, all the 2-year-old boys and under in that town were massacred. That's the truth of the story. The truth of the story is that the Magi's lived into the reality that this baby would one day take the place of the Caesar in the hearts of many. That this baby would upset the rules. That no longer would the boundaries that those in power had set up be the boundaries that people would live by. No longer would appearance matter, or lifestyle matter, or what economic group you came from matter, or what illness or disease you had matter. All would be welcome into God's family. That was the message that the baby came to bring, that the Magi recognized. It's why they felt welcome. It's why they worshiped. It's why they brought their gifts. So, I wonder, do you have any unwrapped gifts under your tree? Do you have any unwrapped gifts in your life? Do we, as a community of faith, do we have any gifts that we're withholding? Gifts that we won't let go of? Gifts that help us to feel comfortable and secure? I can think of a lot of gifts that you all have. This building, this location, an endowment that has you financially secure, a beautiful organ, a wonderful worship style that feeds you all, nurtures your spirituality. The gifts and talents and treasure of this community, of each of you. Are there any that you're hanging on to, that you haven't put at the feet of the manger, at the baby Jesus in the manger? It's tough to let go of comfort and security. You know what happened to Mary and Joseph, right? They were bringing good news into the world. They brought the baby Jesus, God with us, Emmanuel, into the world, and they ended up refugees, running for their lives. Sometimes bringing good news into the world is dangerous, if not uncomfortable. But like a child, in the most unexpected places, God comes. I invite you to sing with me the song in response.